Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Surviving UX. It is a podcast, and I'm Meg Kramer, and my co-host is Jessamine Edwards. And Jessamine, I missed you last
Hey
week. What
Meg,
happened last week?
missed you too.
We had a little phone call before the pod episode, and I said, Jessamine, I kind of lost my voice. What do you think we should do? We got on a phone call, and we had to reschedule.
I
I
love
had no plan.
rescheduling meetings, so it's one of my favorite pastimes.
But we're back this week and we are recovering, hopefully, from some summer colds.
Yeah,
It's going around,
yeah,
it's that
it's
time of
disgusting.
year. And I
Yeah,
do feel like it's that time of my life where just things are harder to kick. Like I thought, oh, I'll just turn this around in a couple days. Well, it's like
we had a
Friday
deal.
of
We
the
had a
second
deal.
week. Yeah. And it's like, no, you're still needing those Kleenexes. So anyway,
I
that's
know.
where I'm at.
What is
What's going
happening?
on with you?
We are also all have the crud, and I feel totally robbed that these cold viruses are still around. Um, But in addition to feeling, physically drained, I'm interested to talk this week about emotions because I've had a little bit of an emotional roller coaster this week. And so I wanted to bring it all to the podcast and lay it all at your feet.
Hmm.
Um, just about how to deal with some tough stuff. I've been dealing with a little bit of tough stuff this week. And basically I think for me, one of the things that I kind of realize, like maybe you have a different opinion on this, but like as professionals, right? As professionals, we're supposed to deliver. We're supposed to, I don't want to say serve, but let's be real. We serve our our teams and our coworkers and our businesses that we work for. And um one of the things I think that we're supposed to do is sort of present like a professional face. And so
Like we
when,
have our shit together.
yeah. And so when things are not going so great, like how much and when is it appropriate to share? And when is it appropriate to hold back and
Hmm.
not, you know what I mean? And not let everybody know that you're hurting or you're struggling. And so yeah, that's what I want to talk about with you today, Meg. So like, we talk about the swan who you see them gliding across the surface and underneath they're like paddling furiously. But
Hmm.
this is like a little bit different where if you get like your boat rocked, like really rocked, and you're not like having like a typical work day, but you're like dealing with some crazy emotions. What does that look like for you? Like I want to know, have you ever had that happen to you in the past? And I mean, obviously you have, right? We all have.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what
I
has
think I think if we hadn't, there wouldn't be a reason for this
this
podcast.
podcast right. So, first of all, Meg, like what for you has set you off in the past and set you like reeling and what happened? Like how did you lose it or, get sort of thrown for a loop?
Right. I would say it all would come back to just feeling so out of control and feeling like there's no options. The business
Yeah.
makes a decision, your management makes a decision. I'll tell a story from a really long time ago, so that I think it's okay to tell,
Okay.
where I was working with a team, an engineering team. I was pretty happy with that. I was pretty junior, but the product wasn't kind of the flagship, so it was a good fit for somebody who was at that stage. Um, and I was I was really involved. My heart was in it.
Yeah.
And I was working, the business decided, like a couple of months prior, the business decided to change who was leading it from a product perspective. And so some new folks came in. I got acquainted with them, started working with them. And then, and I guess there were a couple of incidents that didn't weren't a good mesh with my personality. Like I
Yeah.
overstepped or I oversaid something, or I was outspoken when just the expectations weren't meeting with what I was delivering. And and I think I was pretty blindsided, but the PM asked to have me taken off the team and
Ouch.
replaced with another designer. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ow, that hurts.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
brutal.
um and so I, if I recall correctly, heard this from my manager. Um like I have a lot better, and I think this is what we're going to talk about. I have a lot better skill sets now. At that time, I did not, like,
Yeah.
just was, just was going to be a mess. And and I think so I heard from my manager. I don't know how much time had passed, but what I decided to do was to myself announce it to like the engineering team that I wouldn't be on the team anymore, instead of like waiting around for like the transition to just happen.
Right. It's your news and
And
you want to share it, right?
yeah, and so I just, at the end of like us sprint planning, I just was like, hey, just so you know, I'm not going to be working on this team anymore. And I did not at the time like intend it to have the like, I didn't do it
You weren't
to
trying to drop a bomb.
um like, I don't think I was. I think I was just like coping, and I wasn't trying to be like trying to be like, oh, well, if I do this, maybe like there'll be some reconsidering. I definitely thought at that point my fate was sealed. And it did turn out it was. I moved on to a different project. But in that meeting, just being able to like control the information,
Yeah.
communicate it, and like I did, I think at the time, get emotional when I was
Aw.
sharing it. And
Mhm.
I had such great um support from the people I had worked
Aw.
closely with even before that, PM change had come in.
Yeah.
And so I felt like, oh, this isn't just about, like, this isn't that everybody was not working well with me and this feedback was universal.
Yeah.
It just really changed like how I thought about it. So anyway, that's my
You
story
know
that
what
I'll share
probably
from
happened
a long time
is
ago.
that that PM had somebody that they'd worked with in the past,
Hmm.
and they had that person in mind, and you were different than that person in some way,
Yeah.
and then they just wanted that person back. They wanted that familiar person because I've had that experience where I've been compared to
Hmm.
somebody and they're like, well, I've worked with UX in the past and it's been like this and they do that. And I'm like, well, I'm not that person. This role is so undefined in so many ways. Like UX can do so many things and everybody's got a different skill set that they bring to the table and the way that they do deliverables and stuff like that. And there's
Totally.
always an expectation of like you're going to work the same way the last designer I worked with does. And
Hmm.
that's where I do think like our jobs are like really creative and artistic in ways that other jobs are not. And
I
like,
want to
yeah,
I just want to yes and by saying that this week
yeah.
I took on a project. I'm on a new project, and I am excited, and I was like, oh, this is such a good fit for me. I was reading about it. I was reading through the documents. I was like, oh, this is such a good fit. Awesome.
Yay.
And then
Yay.
yes, yeah, no, I'm super excited. And then I met with like I had a meeting about it and got some more information. And they were like, "Oh, well, really the first step is to do this." And I was like, "Oh crap." Like, so
Oh,
just exactly what you're talking about,
in a
Justin. And
box.
it's like it's like we have so many skills, and like between different UX folks, you can bring this whole cornucopia of skills to a project. And of course, like the first thing they're asking me to do is not quite within my wheelhouse. That's totally fine.
Oh,
I'm gonna figure it out. Like
yeah.
I'm not gonna let that bother me. But I just wanted to yes and what you were saying about how every like designers or UX folks can bring different skill sets with them. And so it can be one of those things where it's like, oh, there was maybe a different idea in mind.
Yeah.
Anyway, I interrupted you to tell you a story about my
No,
week
I like
where I
that.
was a little blindsided
I so
by a like, oh, and go build a skill that you
go do
don't
this.
necessarily have.
Yeah, I always like kind of cringe when someone's like, and first you're gonna do lo-fi and then you're gonna do hi-fi. And I'm like, do you really want me to build this thing twice? Or can I just put a button on the screen and let's move forward? Um, but anyway, I what brought me to like
Yeah.
this topic was that I was having a pretty normal week, and then I had a bad, let's put it this way. I had a bad conversation. I had a bad conversation and with somebody, and to make it worse, it was over, you know, messaging. It was over Slack. It wasn't over like a meeting or a call or something like that. And
Hmm.
I've had this in the past where I feel like Slack is kind of dangerous in this way, where when you're having like a pretty emotional conversation and you're trying to type it out, you you can mess up real fast, or the other person can mess up
Hmm.
real fast. And I just one of the things like basically what happened was, I was having a conversation with somebody, something had gone wrong. And then that person was telling me nothing's wrong and go away. I'm kind of busy. And I like was so offended and so hurt. And I was like, I can't believe this person's treating me this way. I can't believe this person's talking to me this way. And my emotions like kind of took over, and
Hmm.
I felt angry, I felt embarrassed, I felt indignant, and I wanted to like stand up and flip my desk, and I just logged out. I set myself to away. I went and took a walk. Was having all these feelings, and I was like, I never want to make anybody else feel this way. I never want to make somebody else that I work with feel the way that this person's made me feel. And then it sort of slowly dawned on me that like they may not know that I'm feeling this way at all, and they may not have intended to make me feel this way.
Hmm.
And I am here, like literally flipping out, like cussing, texting my husband with cuss words, which I never do. Um, I almost never rant about work anymore, because nobody cares. And I was like, let me tell you about this, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, here we go. Um, and I just thought, like, okay. And so as I was flipping out, like I walked around my neighborhood, I was like really trying to let the steam like come out of my head.
Hmm.
And I sat back down. I just was like, you know what? If this person doesn't want to work with me, or this person doesn't want to follow this process, then fine. One less person to deal with. I'm free. It's freedom for me. I can do things a different way. I can interact with other people. I can work on other things. I don't need to worry about this person. And so I was kind of trying to talk myself down, because I kept having to tell myself over and over, like, don't unload on Slack. Don't respond.
Hmm.
Don't pour it out. Don't get angry. And I did allow myself to respond eventually and be like, okay, well, I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, this process isn't really working for me. So I'm just going to do things another way. And so I let myself kind of do that, like
Hmm.
respond in that way. of like, hey, this isn't working for me. But I wanted to be really careful about how much I was like, I feel disrespected. I feel like this is, this sucks. This stinks. I feel angry. I was like, do I really want to share that with my coworkers? I don't think so. And I kind of thought back, like I had two memories, and these memories like really stick with me. One was an article that I read about service design. Like, do you remember service design? Like 10
It
years
still
ago,
exists.
I guess, whatever. And um basically this woman was talking about her experience. She got in a cab somewhere and the taxi driver was just going on and on about some kind of personal problem. And she's like, God, like I just want to get from A to Z and I do not want to hear about this taxi driver's problems. And she talked about how, like, if you think about a service, you're designing a service and the customer's point of view, you know, we sort of say that we want like a personal experience, we want a personal touch. But the truth is we don't really want it to be that personal. And when we are interacting with like others in a transactional way, we don't want it to be them coming to us with their shit. We want to be able to complain to them or give feedback to them or demand things of them, right? But just like a restaurant, like, you think about your waiter at the restaurant and then the customer, you don't want to hear about the waiter's day and the waiter's issues and the waiter's family and the waiter's illnesses or whatever it is. And so I remembered that. And then I remembered another thing where, we recently, like in the past year, we had some renovations done. And my husband and I, when we talk about doing more renovations, my husband's like, oh my God, like, I just don't want to listen to this contractor's problems anymore.
That's the reason
Because,
you won't do more
right. I
renovations.
mean,
Oh
and
my
we
gosh.
have done them, but we've been like, okay,
Yeah.
like, we're just gonna, you know, only allow like so much listening before we're
Hmm.
like, okay, bro, like we're gonna let you get back to work. So I think that
Man, you
I
have
I
some extroverted contractors.
I it's funny because I don't mind it. Like I kind of like the personality a little bit, but at the same time, like sometimes, all right, they'll never listen to this, so I'm just gonna speak freely. Um, like
What,
he'll be out
contractors
he'll be out in the
don't
yard
listen
like
to our podcast?
grunting, like grunting or like complaining, and he'll be like, cutting something with a saw, smoking a cigarette, and then he'll like get mad and like throw a piece of wood across the yard. And I'm like, don't act like that. Like it's just
Yeah.
I'm just like, come on now. You're on the job. And I I think about him a lot actually. And I know we're not supposed to be order takers and we're not supposed to be servants and we're not supposed to be whatever. But like also, people hire us for a reason. They want us to deliver work that they can't do themselves and they
Hmm.
want it done on time and on budget, right? Just like when you hire a contractor to redesign, a kitchen or
Yeah.
something, right? So, I mean, we are this is the creative class, right? We're a part of whatever. So, I tell myself this, like when I'm having these super emotional reactions
Hmm.
that
You tell yourself to not throw the two
to,
by four
right, to
across
just
the
like,
metaphorical conference room. I
just,
guess it's the actual conference
yeah,
room and the metaphorical two by four.
right.
Um,
It's just, yeah. And so it's like, I think, and like I was laying in bed and I was like, should I start looking for other, teams, other jobs? And my husband's like, are you kidding me? He's like, you have such a good setup. Like, why would you,
yeah,
even consider that? And I thought, why am I, and then I was like, why am I giving this person so much power? Why would I
sure.
rock my own boat?
Yeah.
One poor conversation, right? but months of good ones and months of productivity and months of
Hmm.
positivity. And then
Yeah.
one, I have one bad conversation and then I think, oh, I just want to throw the whole thing away. And I'm like, what's the matter with me? Like
Yeah.
I'm a grown up, right? Like, come on. And the sad thing is, Meg, the sad thing is that literally I spent most of that earlier that morning lecturing my daughter on all the same topics because my daughter had gotten into a fight at school with another kid about, some friendship drama. And
Hmm.
I'm like, you're always going to have to deal with people you don't like. There's always going to be some kid you don't like, or some coworker you don't like, or some boss you don't like, or, rejection, right? There's going to be somebody who you like and they're not going to like you one day.
Mm.
And then to make it worse, I started thinking back to all my previous relationships where
Jessamine,
I
you're
know
going down a
this is
long
so
hole here.
terrible. But Meg, I thought about stuff I hadn't thought about in years from a really new perspective of like, oh my God, this person was cheating on me and I didn't even realize it. I didn't even see it. So let me give you some examples. This happened more than once to me. I think by the third time it happened to me, I was like, I think I'm being cheated on. But basically, like, I'd have a friend. I don't know if this ever happened to you. I'd have a friend and then I'd have a boyfriend. And then,
Mm.
like, these were like high school friendships. And in high school, right, we didn't have phones back in the day, we didn't have email. And sometimes if you were really good friends with somebody, you just go over to their house, right? And like friends ring the doorbell, they show up, you know, and that's how a lot of my friendships were. You just show up. And so one day, like I showed up to my best friend's house and my boyfriend was there hanging out with my best friend. And
Hmm.
I was like, huh, what's he doing over here? And I just was like, hey guys, how's it going? And now I think back and I'm like, duh, like, you know, and it happened I want to say so many times, but unfortunately, I think it's happened more than once. And I just thought like friends will ultimately a lot of friends will reject you or lovers will reject you or rejection's part of life, like dealing with people who do not like you or don't care about you or just apathetic, right? Is part of life.
Hmm.
And like there's a skill there. There's a skill to working with people who do not like you or do not care about you, and you're still able to get the job done. You're still able to be a professional. You're still able to deliver. You're still able to do your job. And you don't need everybody to love you. You don't need to be everybody's best friend. I think when I started working, I don't know about you, Meg, but I really genuinely felt like I had to be friends with everybody. I think my boundaries were really bad, and I would get into really like over personal situations, conversations with coworkers, and
Hmm.
I think I don't think I did myself that many favors, you know, of getting into it with people and then I maybe it was just things were so different back then
I
before
think
everybody was remote.
I think you're laying down some hard truths. I mean, I sure want to be liked by everybody. That is a trait I still hold to like to a fault, unfortunately.
Do you still
Um
feel that way though? Like
uh
now that you're older, like
I
not,
find myself I find myself doing that like naturally, and I have to like catch myself and remind myself like just like what you said, like you don't have to be liked by everybody, even like, the person at Albertsons that told me I couldn't, carry my uh basket out to my car. Like he doesn't have to like you. Like you guys have very different opinions on what like the baskets should and should not be used for. Um
Wait.
So,
Are you talking about like a
sorry.
shopping? Like you went grocery shopping?
Yeah, like the little like plastic basket.
Yeah.
At my Albertsons, you cannot carry a plastic basket out to your car.
Oh. And so do they tell you like get your stuff and
Yeah.
what?
So this is such a non sequitur. We're going on a journey here. But uh I think it's because we live near so close to a university, and I think that they lose a lot of like carts and
Oh, people
baskets and
take
stuff.
them. What on earth
So
do
I
they
get
want with
it,
those baskets?
but I was just like, come on, man.
They're gonna follow
And
you out
this
to your
wasn't,
car and be
yeah,
like,
this was around the time that they started charging for bags in the state of California, where I live.
oh, okay.
And so I did not want to pay for a bag. I also don't want to use bags because it's just bad for the environment. But anyway, my and I didn't have my reusable bag with me that day. Anywho, you're laying down some hard truths. I
Okay.
think these are good truths. I think that if we, as you were talking to your daughter, like if we became more comfortable with these ideas earlier on in our lives, and I think a lot of maybe perhaps the folks that did, like, do have a skill set that helps them in these professional situations. It makes me wonder a couple of things. One, either you and I are similar and we know some similar people that are also in this field that kind of like are in the same vein, and like just by proximity bias, like we just think maybe that's like the question is is this profession kind of like more predisposed to having people that have those kinds of natural traits in them wanting to
Yes.
be liked, like enter the field? Or is it just that you and I hang out together and we have other friends that are similar and blah blah blah? But I almost think it's the former. I almost think that like there is something about this career, the empathy
Yeah.
components,
You're an
like
empath.
the social science components, the artistic components that like kind of line up well with whatever, I'm not a psychologist, but like whatever psychosis it is that's like that leans more towards like I want to be liked, I want people to like me. I'm not here for
Yes.
like the hard stuff that's going to make me grow, that kind of thing. um Man, you've made me think of a lot of other things too.
Oh my gosh.
Like I really want to dig into
Have you
the
ever been
this whole
cheated on?
like well, I was actually going to say conversations on Slack. Um and what we think about these kind of areas where we communicate that are very devoid of contextual
Yeah.
information. Um, and I mean, this is age old problem, right? We
Yeah.
have people writing letters that are reading them without the person there. Like, we're not talking about anything new, and we're not even talking about anything new with regard to Slack, even in the office place, because instant messaging and stuff has been around for a really long time. Um, but it does make me think like each person, when we're looking at Slack and we're writing, well, not so much when we're writing the messages in Slack, but when we are looking at messages and we're reading them, like what is the extra contextual stuff that we put in there? And
Mm.
how often is it that we're reading stuff that is like in our own voice, because we don't have anything else to go off of. Like we don't know
Mm-hmm.
this person very well. We don't know not just what their voice might sound like, but how they use words, how they use language.
Yeah. Right.
This
Yeah.
kind of
And
reminds me of the time that I was going off about a colleague who used a lot of emojis, and I was like, "Why would you use a lot of emojis?" And I was saying this out loud, and somebody else told me like, "Oh, well, that's like I use a lot of emojis, and this is why I do it." And I was like, "Oh, that's so interesting," because to me, like using a lot of emojis is just like something that I only do like if I'm really close with somebody, or
uh-huh.
if I'm trying to like really endear myself to somebody, or some or or I'm
Yeah, it can be cloying.
and
Yeah.
Anyway, so my point is like the whole thing about not having contextual information on Slack and whether or not like what this person, back to your original story,
Yeah.
what did this person actually say? Not the words that were in Slack, but like what was the meaning, the tone,
That
the
is,
whatever.
yes. I mean, Meg, the reason I'm laughing is because my first instinct was like, I want to screenshot this conversation and show it to somebody and ask them, am I the asshole or is this person an asshole? Because I have had arguments that I thought were arguments over Slack. And then when somebody else read it and I did just that, they were like, well, I don't really see like what the big deal is here. Or like maybe I'm getting
Hmm.
like a hint of this, but not a ton, not enough to
Hmm.
warrant this
Hmm.
reaction. And I've
Hmm.
actually had people do it to me where they sent me a screenshot of something someone said and they were like fuming. And I was like, yeah, like I kind of see, like it's a little
Yeah.
bit rough, but it wasn't crazy. Like not enough to warrant, you losing
Yeah.
your mind. And I just thought, I want to run around and show people the evidence of this unpleasant conversation.
And it's really just like thanks, bye.
Yeah,
And that's like the
yeah.
the text. Okay,
And
so
yeah,
let's recap. Let's
okay.
talk about some like you've mentioned a bunch of self-soothing routines.
Yes.
So let's just like recap. So like you
Okay.
went for a walk, great job.
Yeah.
You
I
kind of dished and word vomited to somebody else. In this case, it was your husband. Sorry, Chad. That can be helpful. And I would say use it. Not, I'm not telling you, I'm telling our audience, like got to use that sparingly. Your spouse
Yeah, I don't
partner
want to
is
downpour.
definitely
Yeah.
that's gonna
They
over
don't
time.
care. They don't
When
care.
Jessamine, you said like I'd hardly talk about work stuff anymore. It's like, yeah, at a certain point in your relationship, like you're just not gonna do that anymore. The person is like, I get it. There's
Yeah, they're
nothing
like,
new to hear
"Oh,
about your
let
job.
me wipe a tear away while I like
Yeah.
wipe three kids' butts at the same time and cook dinner." Um,
um
yeah.
so what else are some self-soothing routines? I
Okay.
think crying is good, Justin. Just like I don't think you have to do it.
Yeah.
Like
I
I think it's
yeah,
good. I think it's good to get a
I
cry out. Maybe like, turn on some sad music and like get
Oh,
it all out.
that's a good idea. I would never do that. I would never think to
Yeah.
encourage myself to cry. I've never done that where I'm like, let me turn on a sad song.
Yeah.
That sounds
I
miserable.
The other one I will say is I feel like I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I had a really bad day at work and this was a long time ago and I was in a workout program at the time and I showed up and the instructor who's all like very buoyant and joyous, he's like, "How you doing today?" And I was like, "I'm having a really bad day." And
Uh-oh.
he like was like, "Okay." And he walks over to the punching bags and he like rolls one out for me and he's like, I'm gonna have you do some like some special moves today. And
I
I loved
love
that.
that.
Yeah, I loved that. I now play pickleball and I do feel like racket sports in general, maybe baseball too, but I don't play baseball,
Oh my God,
are
brilliant.
very therapeutic. You
Uh-huh.
you know, if you just get tired enough, you kind of forget what else is going on and hitting something does
Oh
help.
my gosh.
So
I love
those are some more
that.
for me.
Hit
What are
something.
some other ones that
Oh my
something?
God.
Yeah,
I
but like in
mean,
a safe space,
yeah.
all that stuff.
I mean, what do I have really in my tool belt? I think I keep telling myself like, look at everything I have. I have my family, I
Mhm.
have my kids, I have my home. There's so much to be like try to focus on like what's here, what I do have, and like to remind myself like I won't be working with this person a year from now. Like every single
Always
time
true.
I get, tangled up in feelings with
Hmm.
coworkers, like you can bet that in 6 months you won't be
Yeah,
working with
we
them
talk about
anymore.
this.
Yeah.
If this is your first time listening to our podcast, go listen to like any other of our podcasts, and probably like 1 in 5 chance we're going to talk about the fact that the people you work with now are not going to be the people you work with in the future.
Yeah.
And just to bring it all the way back to the story I told, that was why it was so hard. It was because I was early on and I thought, this is my team. I don't want to be on any other team. I won't find as good of a team. And so it was super heartbreaking. And now I know that like teams change,
Oh
people
yeah.
change, like
People
give it a
change.
couple months
Yeah.
and you may or may not be interacting with this person,
Right.
at all.
Anymore.
All
Mm-hmm.
right. So last question for you for the day, for us for the day, as we wrap it up. Does it matter if we come across as professional?
Professional. Well, I'll tell you this. The reason I asked this question to myself was because in when I've had to interview candidates or when I've had to write evaluations for people to get promoted, one of the traits that they ask about is demonstrating poise. Is the
Okay.
person able to kind of, stay professional, stay
Mm-hmm.
up tempo, able to communicate. And I am like, fail. I just fail the test because I cry. I get upset. If I get angry, I start crying. It is a given. And the sad truth is that I have cried in front of almost every manager I've had at one point or another. And I hate it. I hate it. I can't control it. It just happens. And I've had people
I
be
think
like, "Are
crying needs
you
to become more
crying?"
normalized.
And I'm like, "No, I'm not crying."
I I think I'm on the other side for at least for crying. I think it's fine to cry.
Well,
I feel like we should make it more common. I feel like not crying is so much of like a male patriarchy
hmm,
workplace
yeah.
thing. But anyway,
If
but
you're not
you're
crying,
not
you
just
don't
talking
care,
about,
right? I That's the thing is like
yeah.
how much you care. But I do tell myself like, come on, like have some poise, keep it
Hmm.
professional and don't let them see you, don't let them see you sweat. Don't let them see you cry. And I can't get there. I'll never have perfect poise. Like I probably will never get there
No.
because I'll always have those emotions. But I do think it matters though because I really truly don't think most colleagues want to hear all my stuff, hear all my feelings and thoughts. I really don't think they do. And so I do
That I
think
would agree with you on. And not you
you.
specifically, Jessamine. I mean,
Oh,
generally speaking,
yeah,
I do feel like that is that is something that
that's a
I
burden.
try
Yeah.
to, yeah, I try to like yeah, I try to minimize, or I try to like figure out ways
Don't
uh
overshare.
to not do it myself. Yeah, to
Yeah.
like limit that.
Mm. All right, Meg. Well, thanks for listening to my problems once again. I appreciate it.
That was a great reminder. I need to go back out there and not worry so much about what people think about me.
All right. If you need advice or sympathy for your UX career, we are listening. Bye bye.
Bye. Surviving UX is hosted and edited by Jessamine Edwards and Meg Kramer. Our theme music is, among other things, the on-hold music for Cisco Phones, Opus Number 1 by Tim Carlton and Derek Deal. Don't forget to add tissues to your shopping list. Whether you're crying in front of your boss or just have the summer sniffles, you're going to need them.